Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. That's Lise Merle from Regina. You're watching Rebel Roundup, and it feels like we never got off the air from last night.
It's like no
Uh,
time has elapsed since we
Nothing.
saw you guys last. Yeah.
Roughly 12 hours, I believe,
Mhm.
since we were together on a live stream. You're watching Rebel Roundup. It's our daily news and opinion show wherein we are completely unscripted and very, very live, as I often find out the hard way. And we discuss the news of the day as it comes at us. And we
Yeah.
were on the live stream last night to cover 3 Alberta by-elections that
Mhm.
I think went quite predictably. Um, Actually, one of our guests last night on the live stream, which it's recorded, you go back and watch it. He nailed the exact percentage that the Republicans got in Olds, Didsbury, Three Hills. And we'll talk about that in a second. But before we get into that, Lise, how have you been since I saw you last?
Well, I'm just fabulous, Sheila Gunn Reid. I mean, everything is coming up roses in Lacey land, but I'm still coming off the high of last night because if you guys want to see a good show, last night was an absolute swish banger of a show on the Rebel Roundup. We had the best guests we ever
Yeah,
could have hoped for. We had an all-star lineup of people talking about the Alberta election. We had Marty Belanger. He's Marty Up North on X. We had Carla Treadway from the Sovereign CEO. We had 222 minutes. At the end, he was absolutely fabulous.
great.
I hope you guys loved him. We had Tariq El Nega,
Yeah,
cowboy politics expert on.
yep.
It was just such a great conversation. We had such diversity of thought, and I would have room for all of those guys any day of the week on this program. They were just so awesome.
Yeah, they were great. And it was a Western focus show, although we had one not Westerner with Carla Treadway because I wanted to see what it's like from the outside looking in. So I was glad to have her perspective. But
Mhm.
we threw together a show of Westerners to talk about Western issues. And I'm actually quite proud of how it came together. And based on the viewership numbers, I believe you guys liked it as well. Um,
Mhm.
but as is the case with the live stream, we should tell you how you can get involved because we don't take any money from any government. You can tell that in our coverage of them. We try to hold all levels of government, even the ones we like for now, uh, to account on behalf of you, the people at home, because
Yes.
that's who they work for and that's who I work for. So we rely on your support. So we get we ask for something, but we give a little something back because we want to work for your support. So if you want to support the work that we do and you are watching us on Rumble, the paid chat there is called a Rumble rant. Your voluntary support in the form of a paid chat will result in us reading it on air. Now, I can't go too long today because by my blazer thrown over a tank top while I wear pajamas under the desk means that I am filling in for Ezra today because he's on the Rebel News cruise still. So we can't go too long. If your chat is over the $5 US cutoff, it is obligatory for us to read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best, time permitting. And I just told you the time constraints. If you are watching us on YouTube, that's a censorship platform, which miraculously, I think it's like a glitch or something where they've remonetized us there. But I know people prefer to watch over there. I get it. The interface is great. You can leave us a super chat, that's our paid chat, or a super thanks, that's our paid comment after the fact. So if you are a time traveler from beyond and you are watching us in the future, you can leave us a super thanks, and that goes to support us here at Rebel News. So we just briefly talked about the by-election. We had Angelica in Republican HQ in Olds, where Cam Davies, the Republican leader, was running for a seat there. And that was important because that riding had elected a few decades ago a Western Canadian Concept MLA. And but it's also very strongly conservative. And I think memories in Alberta are not that long, but we do remember the dark days of the NDP some 6 years ago. And I think people weren't willing to risk going back to
Mhm.
that, to risk a split in the vote. And also, I think people are just figuring out what they think the separatist movement should look like. Should it be led by a party which risks a split and delivering the NDP to power? Naheed Nenshi, who also won his seat last night in Edmonton, Strathcona, or is it a movement of people across parties uh, for independence? And I think that might have been slightly sorted out last night. That this
Mhm.
might not come from a party, which there are pros and cons to that. But I think that got sorted out. I do not think that separatism is going away in this province and not in our sibling province of Saskatchewan. I think people are just deciding what the best vehicle for
Yep.
independence is right now.
How to go about it. That's right. That's exactly right. Well, some of the more complex questions get sorted out.
Right.
We need to find our bearings and just figure out the best way to go about it. Danielle Smith, though, which we'll talk about in a little bit, has announced the Alberta Next panel, and it's really
Yeah.
interesting that she announced this. I think it was in the works for quite some time, but that she
Yeah.
announced it this morning, the day after the election, is her way of addressing the 18% peel off from UCP support last night
Right.
to the Republican Party of Alberta. And so this is a really interesting move by Danielle Smith. She is not ignoring the separatists. As a
No.
matter of fact, she's giving them avenues to have their voices heard. And it's classic Danielle Smith. I mean, she is a woman who listens to the people of Alberta and actively reflects back what the
Yeah.
people of Alberta are telling her. And this is just another example. And we'll talk about this more in just a little bit.
Yeah. And I think this is a wise move because, as we discussed on the live stream last night, the Venn diagram of independence minded people
Yes.
and conservative voters is a circle.
Mhm.
So,
It is
for the
all overlapped. They are the
it's
same people. Yes.
right. So, in some of those closer Calgary ridings, uh, I don't think the UCP wants to risk a peel off that would deliver some ridings to the NDP, and so they have to deal with this issue from within and
Yes.
sort of get out of the way of it, uh,
Mhm.
because like you could end up with an NDP government. Well, though I don't think with Nenshi as leader, he's deeply unpopular, but you could end up with an NDP government that then raises the bar back up for citizen-led initiatives, which would mean
Mhm.
a generation to get back to where we are today.
Yes. Yep. And Danielle Smith knows this. She's an astute politician, and she knows that she cannot risk any of her ridings, any of her urban ridings, any more of her urban ridings going to the NDP. So
Right.
she's going to do things that both honor the wishes of the people of Alberta while bringing back the base of the UCP. She's going to make it impossible for them to uh to vote for the Republican Party because she's going to do things that the Republican Party would have done.
Right.
So there's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is how it should work. Which is how it should work. She should be listening to the people that were disillusioned or disaffected by the UCP for whatever reason,
Right.
and are independence minded. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She has to make it so that there isn't a viable other option.
Mhm.
And if you saw there, can we bring the results back up from old Didsbury Three
Mhm.
Hills? I always have to catch myself because Two Hills is also a place in Alberta very close to
Mhm.
me. Um, so it would have been, I think, a success for the Republicans in Old Didsbury Three Hills to at least poll higher than the NDP, and
Yeah.
they did not.
Well,
And
I was thinking about this after the show last night, and we have no idea of the dirty tricks that the NDP would have pulled to capture a result like this. And make no mistake, the NDP knew that too. So they wanted to make it look, they would have put all of their eggs in this basket,
yeah,
all of them, because they didn't even have to, they didn't even have to try in the urban areas in
right.
Edmonton. Okay. They could put up a fence post, put an NDP sticker on it, and people would vote for it in those urban
Yeah,
centers. So think they put a great deal of effort in this rural riding to have a really strong showing to make it look like there isn't an independence
yeah,
movement afoot in Alberta. but we know that there is.
Right. It just doesn't look the way that I think the Republicans of Alberta want it to look. Yeah, they could have run a
Yeah.
bag of nacho cheese Doritos in Nenchi's riding and they would have voted for it because it was NDP orange. Like it's
Yes, yes.
anyway. And if you saw in that Edmonton Ellerslie, sorry, let's go back. Look, this is what the numbers are kind of wild here.
Mhm.
In Edmonton Ellerslie, the NDP won with only 1,300 more than they lost with in Old Didsbury Three Hills, meaning the voter turnout in Old Didsbury Three Hills, quite high for a by-election. Those are
Was
people
hu It was huge. Yes.
motivated to make sure that riding stayed UCP, but that doesn't mean they're not separatists or
Yes.
independence-minded.
Yes, that's so true. That's so
Yeah.
true. Yeah, just because they voted for the UCP doesn't mean that they're not independence minded or at least thinking about it or exploring the option. And
Right.
so it was just a fascinating evening. And again, just thanks to all of our guests
Mhm.
who joined us. It was awesome. I would do that every
Yep.
day.
Yeah,
I
it
wish there
was
was a by-election every day in Canada so we could do this.
careful what you wish for. We've got actually Danielle Smith talking about, we've got a video here from her, if I'm reading this correctly. Yes. So this is her announcing the Alberta Next panel. I think the press conference is this afternoon. But here is our very popular premier announcing the next fight against Mark Carney.
Alberta, our home. Pristine mountains and lakes, wide open pastures and fertile fields, unmatched natural resources, world-class cities, world-class people. Alberta truly has it all. We are a strong and free people, full of entrepreneurs, food producers, builders, caregivers, teachers, and a whole lot of hardworking, tough as nails, get-her-done grit. Our potential is as limitless as our skies. But let's face it, Alberta's being held back. Our economy has been under attack for most of the last 10 years. Frankly, off and on for decades long before then. Not by a foreign country or by world economic forces. No, Alberta's biggest threat to our prosperity and growth has come from our own nation's capital. Alberta has an Ottawa problem.
Ooh.
For the last 10 years, Ottawa, led by successive Liberal governments propped up by their NDP allies, have taken direct aim at Alberta's core industries. Ottawa's Bill C-69 killed several major Alberta pipeline and resource projects. Their West Coast tanker ban specifically blocks Alberta oil from accessing world markets. Their excessive industrial carbon taxes and the new oil and gas emissions cap are designed to keep our world-class oil and gas reserves in the ground. And net zero mandates on everything from electricity to vehicles are causing the cost of living to increase, business costs to soar, and are even endangering the stability of our power grid in the dead of winter. And the effects on Alberta's economy have been staggering. In just the last 10 years alone, more than $500 billion, that's $500 billion, in global investment capital destined for our resource sector has disappeared. It walked away from Alberta and Canada, and instead headed off to Texas, Asia, and the Middle East, to places that welcome resource development and jobs.
One eighth our size.
That cost Alberta and Canada quite literally hundreds of billions in GDP, corporate taxes and resource royalties for healthcare, education, and public infrastructure. It cost hundreds of thousands of jobs and thousands of healthy and growing businesses. It was national self-harm on a level never seen. And no province was hurt more than ours. And those costs keep building every single day. But we're not just losing investment, we're losing trust. As I said, this story is bigger than just the last decade. Alberta has been treated unfairly for decades long before that. We've built roads, rail, power, jobs, and prosperity for this country. Yet we've been told to keep quiet and be grateful while sending $20 billion a year more to Ottawa than we receive back in funding each year. In fact, since 1980, Alberta has contributed $653 billion more to federal taxes than we receive back. That means well over $500 billion went directly from Alberta to fund other provinces, mostly with economies larger than ours, through programs, transfers, and equalization. And despite this, we have continued to be the economic engine and job-creating juggernaut of this country, and have opened our province to those from every corner of Canada looking for work and opportunity. And when we point out these facts, how do Ottawa politicians and Eastern elites respond? Our concerns are dismissed, our values marginalized, our leaders vilified, and our industries remain targeted.
Oh my God.
Most Albertans are or want to be proud Canadians. We fought for this country, fed this country, and powered this country. But the status quo relationship with Canada cannot continue. It's time for Alberta to take a stand, with ideas, with facts, with our voices, and with action. If Canada is to be a strong and unified country, it must include a strong and sovereign Alberta, able to pursue our own potential without being held back by our own country. That's why we're launching the Alberta Next panel, a province-wide series of in-person and virtual town halls where your voice, your ideas, and your values will help shape Alberta's road ahead. The Alberta Next panel gives you a seat at the table to speak directly with industry and government leaders, constitutional scholars, and policy experts, to explore ideas for Alberta to assert our constitutional rights to prosper and become an equal partner in confederation, and to discuss how we can protect Alberta from outside economic attacks going forward. And when the panel has finished its work, it will recommend which ideas should be put to the people of Alberta for a referendum vote in 2026. Now, I know these can be tough and emotional conversations, and that's okay. We are Albertans. We can have hard conversations and share our ideas and opinions respectfully, and stay good friends and neighbors while doing so. Because really, the vast majority of Albertans, regardless of their politics or backgrounds, all want the same thing. We want to live in a country that works for us, not against us. It's about building an Alberta that is strong, free, and sovereign within a united Canada that respects and empowers our province to achieve our full potential. And that's why I need your help, because the best ideas don't come from government, they come from you. From the shop floor, the field,
just
the
gorgeous.
classrooms, the boardroom. Albertans are doers, builders, problem solvers. And we've had enough of waiting for someone else's permission to turn that energy into even more prosperity for our province. That's why we need to take the next step. Alberta Next is about doing just that. It's about asking, what else can we do? Where else can we lead? What powers can we assert that are already ours? It's time to explore every option and to pursue every good solution. So what comes next? That's up to you. Join us this summer in your community or online. Register, show up, be heard, so our beautiful Alberta can remain forever strong and free.
I am shook. I am absolutely shook by that. Danielle Smith, goddamn, did you knock that out of the park? I've never heard anything so gorgeous in my entire life as that.
Yep.
We are actively listening to the people of Alberta. We are going to hear what you want, and we're going to move those things forward. I mean, this is what every politician in the country should be doing on a permanent basis all the time. That was so perfect. The tone was just lovely. The way that she detailed the way Alberta has been abused for decades by the federal government, the way that Alberta has a path forward and is going to explore every option, just gorgeous. Oh, Danielle Smith, you absolute beauty, like just perfect.
And you know, they have to do this. They have to do this because they cannot ever have it said, we didn't try everything, right? And this is in stark contrast to Jason Kenney's strongly worded letters to a guy who testified at the Public Order Emergency Commission that he doesn't actually read anything. So
well, it's also, I have to say, as a Saskie, as a lifelong
Right.
Sasky and forever Sasky, this is also in stark contrast to the government of Saskatchewan, which
Yeah.
is just putting out Facebook posts about uh, building permits. Oh, we're number one in the nation for building permits. Wait, I mean, it's crazy, the discrepancy between the two governments. I would
Right.
like to see the government of Saskatchewan to doing something very, very similar,
Right.
walking in lockstep with Alberta, because we know that what Alberta does, so too should Saskatchewan. We are best friends and sisters. We should be doing this together. And seeing nothing out of the government of Saskatchewan is just profoundly disappointing.
Right.
Profoundly disappointing.
Right. We're like my eyebrows. We're not identical, you know.
Sisters, not
Sisters are
twins.
twins.
Sisters, not twins. That's the rule for eyebrows
Right.
and
Right.
provinces. Yeah,
Exactly.
but we do belong together, and we should be doing similar things like this in Saskatchewan. And I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it, and it's so disappointing.
Well,
I
and
mean,
there's power in numbers, right? Like Danielle Smith has come out swinging, basically saying this is the last ditch effort to save Confederation from Ottawa. Like they're trying to
right,
save the country from itself right now. That's what she's trying to do. And she's
exactly
saying
that.
these are our list
Exactly
of
that.
demands. If they are not met, these people will vote to leave. That
She's
basic she's letting us submit our list of demands and then taking our list of demands to the boss. And if he says, well, we're not doing these, that's it.
She's
That's
put,
it.
but she's gone so much further than any other politician
Yep.
or government at any point before her by putting a timeline on it. If you guys do not comply with our demands, we're not asking, we're telling. Okay. This is the
Yep.
difference between Danielle Smith. She's not asking, she's not writing strongly worded letters to the government saying, oh,
Right.
please stop abusing us. Please stop being awful to us. Please start treating us like a partner and a cherished part of Confederation. She's
Beloved.
saying, we are identifying that you've treated us badly. Here's our list of demands, and this is the end date. And if you do not comply, then the people of Alberta will have their say, and you might have to live without us. And I think that should strike fear into the hearts of every single person east of Manitoba, and including the government of Saskatchewan, because the last thing they need is to look slow and lazy. Slow and lazy. We're sisters. We are as entrepreneurial. We are as we have the hustle. We have the Western culture. We should not be letting moss grow on this rolling stone.
Yeah,
No.
and at the end of the day, the feds will not be able to say, well, we weren't sure what they wanted from us.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I think we have to, like, I think that she's being very prudent in that she's making specific demands. She's not saying, give us a proposal with your best guesses as to what we want. She's actively telling them what the people of Alberta are expecting of the government, and if the federal government doesn't deliver, they're going to have a sticky situation on their hands. Because yeah, if Alberta goes, Saskatchewan goes. That's just the way it is. Saskatchewan, the people of Saskatchewan are not going to be left holding the bag, and
Yeah.
nor do we want to. If Alberta pieces out, Saskatchewan resources and producers and our industries and our sectors are not going to be able to make up for the shortfall,
Yeah.
and nor should we. We will be the number one slaves of Confederation, and we don't
Mhm.
want that. We want to go with Alberta. Yeah,
And I
hand in
think
hand.
if we go, it will fracture BC in two.
I do too. I do
Yeah.
too. The northern and interior parts of BC, and same goes for Manitoba. The rural and northern parts of Manitoba are going to come with us. They're not going to want to go with the east. They're not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're the first domino to fall. We would be like Poland,
Right.
when the Eastern Bloc fell. And there's a way for the feds to stop it. They just have to listen to us and get out of our way. It's actually quite a simple formula. Shut up and get out of our way. And I think that they are not going to do those two things.
They're too entitled, and they're too elitist, and they're too entrenched in the ways that they can abuse the West without any consequences whatsoever. Unless we, I mean, add to the list that Danielle Smith is talking about: electoral reform, judicial reform, Senate reform, education reform, health reform. When you
Energy
think of that,
policy,
oh sure,
yeah,
oh that's first and
given.
foremost, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the driver of all of the industries on the prairies. But when you think about it in terms of how much would have to be fixed for the people of the West, well, it almost seems easier to just create it for ourselves.
Also,
Thank you
she
very
hit on
much.
something there that there's no trust anymore. So that
Oh,
even if the
yes.
feds agreed to do these things, do we trust them to keep their word?
Oh,
Uh,
that it's such a good point. It is such a good point because we've been offered concessions before that the
right.
federal government has turned around, created a new set of policies or regulations or whatever, put up the gatekeepers of policy where we've seen some of the things that we've wanted being offered and then immediately rescinded once the next election cycle comes around or once the next news cycle comes around, for God's sakes. So do we trust what Ottawa is going to offer us? No, we don't, to be
Well, and
honest.
and even when we try to show them this is what we want, this is what we've chosen, all you have to do is enact it, they smack us back down and
Well, they tell because yep,
impose their will on us. I'll give you a good
yep,
example of this. We actually have two Alberta senators in waiting. We elect our senators in Alberta,
you
and
get to pick them.
we get to pick them. They're on the ballot. And the convention was, and this was to save the country the drama of opening up the Constitution. The convention was Alberta elects their senators, and when an opening comes up for a senator in Alberta, they will be appointed by the government of the day.
And guess what happened?
Guess
Just
what
guess.
happened?
Guess Canada.
Mike Shake was chosen by the people of Alberta, and he is still a senator in waiting. Justin Trudeau chose
Christopher Wells.
no, Paula
Oh,
Simons first. Paula
oh,
Simons of the Edmonton Journal, who strongly aligned herself with Justin Trudeau's censorship stuff, which was an odd choice for a journalist. And the Edmonton Journal actually won a Pulitzer Prize way back in the day for fighting with Bill Aberhart's government, which required newspapers in the province at the time to publish government rebuttals of critical stories of them, and that violated journalistic freedom. They beat the Aberhart government in court, and they won a Pulitzer Prize for that. That's her legacy that she burned to the ground of her former employer. And then we elected Erica Barutz. And then, so a young Alberta conservative woman. Her politics are wrong, but her gender was right, according to the Liberals, who care about gender parity in all things. And instead, they chose a radical sex activist professor
Christopher Wells.
Christopher Wells,
Just the
against the
worst.
will of the people. I have never met a man. Sorry, I've never actually met him. I've never seen a man who so dislikes the culture of the people he represents as Christopher Wells,
and is
yet
so
chosen.
insanely left wing as this man. He is a radical
Look at his
gender
Senate
activist.
bio.
And this is a senator that they appointed for Alberta. No, when we tell them what we want, they basically tell us, you're not smart enough to know. You just, you guys are just, you're not refined enough. You're not elite enough. We are going to tell you what's good for you, and you're going to take it because there is no recourse. And this is what Westerners are tired of. We are tired of being told what's good for us. We're tired of being told what to do and how we're going to suffer under the very, very heavy hand of the federal government. This is what we're tired of, and this is why we want out.
And the reason I brought that up is that's an example of Alberta doing its best to work within confederation with the government. And they just looked at us and said, we're not doing that.
You
Forget
guys,
it.
it's
Come
so
on, we know
cute.
better.
It's so cute that you think you know what's good for you. Just listen to the federal government. Just listen. If you would only just do what we wanted, send us all your money, and then suffer, well, then we would be happy. And that's what the federal government expects from the West. It is insane. It is insane. And they wonder why we want to leave. They wonder. Like, it's an honest question in their head. Talking to Carla Treadway last night was extraordinarily illuminating for several reasons, not the least of which because she detailed sort of what the overarching opinions are of the people of Ontario and the Laurentian elites. And basically what she said was, they don't know how much money you're sending. And Danielle Smith's video,
Right.
ooh, did that make it obvious?
Yep.
$500 billion? $500 billion has hemorrhaged out of the west to the east to pay for all of their fancy social programs, all the pride parades, all of the crazy climate garbage and the greenwashing. $500 billion. Alberta, do you know how rich you would be with $500 billion in your back pocket right now? Do you know how well off the people of Alberta would be keeping that money in your pocket? I mean, the question just writes itself. Do we
Yeah.
want to stay part of this or no? And I mean,
Yeah.
watching that video, how could you? How could you?
Right.
It's an invitation for abuse to stay within Confederation.
Right. I mean, when you couple the outgoing money to Confederation, but also the investment they've denied us, it's like $1 trillion out of Alberta.
Insane. Insane.
And that doesn't include, revenues to the government, like income tax on all the jobs that didn't come to fruition. That's just economic investment on projects and then outgoing money in transfer payments. I also
Right.
thought it was kind of cute that Carla didn't know just how young the makeup of the Conservative Party is in Alberta. She was excited to see Tara Sawyer, who's a young Conservative, take the old Didsbury
Yeah.
Three Hills riding. And I thought, that's a very Ontario perspective, because we have a ton of young under 40s in the Conservative caucus, including young women. Rebecca Schultz is a
Oh,
minister.
awesome. She's just
Yeah.
awesome. Just a little
Chan-
powerhouse. Yeah.
Chantel DeJong also, we're a different, as I said on the stream last night, we're a different breed of conservative out here. And our young people, I think, are more aggressively conservative than the older ones, which I find very
Oh,
satisfying.
bring it home, guys. Like, bring it home. Love to see
Yeah.
it. Love to see it.
Okay, let's hit an ad break and then we'll come back and talk about there's the EU summit where Carney is declaring
He says a quiet part out loud.
Carneyisms. And then we've got Anita Anand at the NATO Leaders Summit, sort of also telling the truth of what Carney's NATO commitment announcement actually is. So let's hit an ad break. We'll come back and talk about that.
Okay.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
Tired of supporting woke coffee companies that hate your values? Tired of drinking coffee that comes with the burnt, bitter taste of communism? Switch to fresh roasted, specialty coffee from a family-owned company built on faith, family, and freedom. Skip the shipping. Get free coffee and some cash for gas, groceries, and ammo by becoming a Resistance Coffee Outpost today.
All right. Okay, let's get into Mark Carney at the EU summit, because he's declared previously, he actually campaigned on it, our security and trade relationship with the Americans is over as we know it. And then he goes to the G7 and he's like, oh, hello, Mr. Trump. Nice to see you. Do I curtsy? What do I do right now? Yes, just putting on the chapstick. And so again, it depends on the audience, I suppose, he's speaking to, which shows a man of little integrity, right? You should be the same person that you are, no matter what audience you're in front of, whether you are in front of your friends and family or the public. They should know who you are. Of course, there are like things that we might gossip about to each other, but people should know you if they know you at all. Right. And with Mark Carney, you just never know which Mark Carney you're going to get. Does he hate the Americans today? Does he love Donald Trump today? You don't know. I think he hates the Americans again. According to this little snippet from the EU Canada summit.
A world that's more dangerous and divided. A time where the rules-based international, the global order, rules-based global order is under threat, in a time when technological change is accelerating. And we really have two choices as a jurisdiction, as a country in this circumstance. We can nostalgically look back and long for the old order to somehow return, or we can build a new one with purpose and partnership. And as the most European of the non-European countries, Canada looks first to the European Union to build a better
I don't
world.
look to the Europeans.
And
for
that's
anything.
what today is about. It's about building on our triple alignment of values, of interests, and of trust built over the years. And so today, this is a new era of cooperation. Our strategic Canada-EU or EU-Canada strategic partnership for the future will build a new and deeper relationship that brings us closer together, from defense to digital, from supply chains to security. We're launching comprehensive negotiations across multiple areas of cooperation and connection: trade, security, digital, climate. And this will make us both more resilient and more prosperous. In many respects, what we're committing to, from our perspective, Canada's perspective, is an ongoing process to an ever closer partnership that will bring our people closer together.
Okay, how many hands up, everyone? Who here voted for a new world order?
Right.
Okay, so that's none of us. None of us then? And yet this is exactly what Mark Carney is saying. He's saying that we're undertaking a new relationship with the European Union, who is, P.S., evil incarnate, on the digital front, on the climate front, on messaging.
On the digital
on
front, where they censor everything.
I mean, this is insane what we just heard here. This is insane. Nobody voted for this. I did not vote for this. No, I do not want this. I don't want European overlords determining what I here in Saskatchewan can do, or what you there in Alberta can do, or what you in across the country of Canada can do. I don't want this at all.
He slid in the climate stuff there. By the
Yes.
way, I hope Mark Carney, who did spend a great deal of time in the UK, I do hope he understands Brexit, because Great Britain was like, no, we got to get out of this. Like, these people are crazy. We got to get out of there. And he's like, how do we get some of that? Which
And
seems like a terrible idea.
And interestingly enough, when the Brexit question was roiling in the UK, and it was a hard, ugly thing that was
Sure.
happening there.
But what did
Mark
they call
Carney.
as Ezra said, it was called, I think, Project Fear. That was
Yes.
the anti-campaign. The reason I know that is because Ezra brought it up and said, the closer Albertans get towards independence, whatever that looks like, we are going to be subject to our own Project Fear.
Yes. And Mark Carney was on the pro-European Union tour. So as the president of the Bank of England at the time, he was saying, no, we need stronger relationships with the EU. Britain definitely wants to stay within the European Union, and it would be catastrophic economically to back out of the European Union. So he worked overtime
This is
to
his
keep
mulligan.
Britain, it's exactly what's happening, Sheila. That is exactly what's happening. And so if we look at this in terms of what Canada is being dragged into with summits like this, it is not going to be good for us, because the people of Britain voted to get the hell out of the European Union. It did not benefit them in the least. And as a matter of
Right.
fact, it showed their quality of life plummet during the time that they were a part of the European Union. Just layers of complication and layers of regulations and layers of, like, they were like, life was way easier before we joined the European Union. We want to go back.
Right.
Like, we want to go back to easier, better times for ourselves. So that Mark Carney is slow walking us down a garden path towards some sort
Joining
of partnership.
Joining the EU. That was mused during the campaign.
Insane. This is
Yeah.
actually insane, Canada. Yeah.
And look, I'm not against stronger trade ties with Europe. Like if they want stuff and we're selling it, I'm happy.
Yep.
I'm happy. You want our agricultural product? Great. You want our oil and gas? I know
Perfect.
you wanted it, but Justin Trudeau said there's no business case. But he snuck in the climate stuff right at the end. And here's my problem with that.
Yeah.
Because Mark Carney has talked about this before he was a public figure in politics, when he was just a
civil servant,
a climate sabotage bankster with the UN and then GFANZ. The EU right now is implementing a carbon border adjustment mechanism, the CBAM. It's a carbon tariff. They're introducing this in 2026. And what this means is, and Carney has talked about this, if we are bringing in goods from places that don't have a carbon tax.
Oh, they're going to add it.
We care so deeply about the environment that we are going to add it on inbound goods and then pass that cost along to the consumer, thus making everything more expensive, meaning that goods that are made in jurisdictions that don't have carbon taxes, like let's say the United States or China, well, they are not getting the benefit of that because the consumer is going to pay for it as though it had a carbon tax. We're putting a carbon tariff on that. And Mark Carney has mused about that. And that is particularly chilling since our largest trading partner does not have a carbon tax. Mark Carney is a carbon tax zealot. He's trying to figure out a new way to tax us. And if all of our inbound imported consumer goods have a carbon tax, well, then he's getting us, I guess, coming and going a little bit.
This is just wild. Like, this is just wild. So to win the election in Canada, he did a number of things. He branded himself as the not Justin Trudeau. He got rid of the consumer carbon tax, just like the Conservatives were campaigning on for 2 entire years. And now he is going to institute an even huger international carbon tax scheme that works across continents and borders. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Canada, you were sold a bill of goods that this guy cannot cash, and this is going to be a disaster for Canada. You mark our words.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he snuck in that climate stuff right at the end. We've got Anita Anand at the EU or at the NATO leaders summit, and she got
in
asked,
the Netherlands. Yeah, in the Netherlands.
And she got asked about NATO's 5% target, and she claims she heard Canadians wanted a 2% increase this year, but then she says, "Oh, but we're only going to do 1.5." Anyways, let's watch this.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Minister. On NATO and getting to the new target that'll be proposed, you said this morning that you think a re-examination of the timeline of it is appropriate. So I'm wondering if you could elaborate on that, especially in light of your department officials a few days ago when they briefed us seemed to indicate that the 1.5% of the new target, the industrial infrastructure component, that they seem to be indicating that Canada might already be there. We might already have that covered with other stuff that we're doing. So are we looking at really maybe another 1.5%? And what's your message to the Canadian people who will be seeing this as a competing priority now that you're the foreign minister?
Well, my first message to the Canadian people is that we heard you and we heard your support for Canada achieving the 2% target. And we will do that within a year, further to the announcement by Prime Minister Carney that will occur. That is a significant milestone, given the number of conversations that have occurred in our country over the past number of years for Canada to reach the 2%. And I will say that it is incumbent upon us all to view achieving the 2% is beneficial not only for Canada as a NATO founding member, but also for the safety and security of Canada as a whole. Let's remember that this increase in defense spending is going to augment Canada's safety. We are going to see that our Arctic is a priority. We're going to see that increasing supports for the Canadian Armed Forces, as well as defense capabilities, are #1 priorities. So this is good news for Canada. Now, your question went, well, what happens over and above the 2% that Canada has committed to? And that's the conversation that leaders are here today and tomorrow to have. It's not only a question of the amount, whether it is an additional 1.5% or an additional 3% overall. It's also a question of how you break it down. Will there be flexibility in about 1.5%? Will there be a mandatory percentage increase at certain points in time? Will there be increases incrementally? And will there be a review after a certain timeline, say in 2029, which is one of the dates that is being floated? So, Mike, it would be imprudent for me to opine on Canada's position prior to the conversation that the leaders of the NATO countries are going to have over the next 2 days. Let's let that conversation unfold. And let's then, as a country, ensure that Canada is on the track that best serves Canadian taxpayers, that best serves the Canadian people, and best serves the obligations that we have domestically and multilaterally as a member of NATO.
Does anybody have a clue what she actually said there?
Well, I mean, she danced around it pretty good. But basically, what I heard her say is that the government of Canada has taken years to have conversations about how much they're going to contribute to NATO. Okay. It's taken them years to decide on the percentage that we're going to contribute to NATO. But given what we just talked about in the very last segment about Mark Carney aligning with the European Union, why we have to ask ourselves as Canadians and as taxpayers, why is it so important to all of a sudden for us to fulfill our commitments to NATO when we are actively making partnerships with the European Union on climate and digital and other initiatives? What I just heard there is that Canada is taking defense spending as it pertains to NATO very seriously because they want to make it look to the European Union like we are strong, steady partners. This has nothing. She said, this is good news for Canada. Baloney. Absolute 100% baloney. What would have been good news for Canada is to keep our military in top operational capacity over these last 10 years. And we watched our military go from great to absolute, well, pretty much nothing. Nearly 50% of our military is not actively engaged right now or could be called to any kind of conflict. This is not good news for Canada. This is just another failure of the federal government. And I hate that we are spending billions of dollars shoveling it towards NATO while NATO walks into conflicts that we have no part of.
And they're going to make this worse because whatever they do spend, we're not going to get a good bang for our buck because as Michael Taube points out in the National Post, they have taken this elbows up approach to procurement, meaning that they are not going to buy American-made military vehicles, or they're going to try not to, which means that our dollar is not going to go as far because the Americans are really good at making military vehicles. They got
it to scale. Yes.
They've got it to scale. They spend the money on their military. They respect their military. And he said he wasn't going to buy from American military contractors. So Carney said We will ensure that every dollar is invested wisely, including prioritizing made in Canada manufacturing and supply chains. We should no longer send 3/4 of our defense capital spending to America, but they're the ones making this stuff, and they're making it efficiently to scale. So
And
we are going
and
to try to
economically, right.
right. And so we're going to what now scale up military manufacturing in Canada. Okay, I guess that also means that 2 or 5% is not going to go as far because we're trying to spend
Sure.
it at home.
Sure. And then it begs the question, who are we going to buy it from? Are we going to do like BC and retain right? Are we going to buy our military components from China? I mean, we've already seen that happen with drones and tech from China being procured by the military in Canada, and it just begs the question: who do we want to do business with more? Who do we trust more? Do we trust our friends and neighbors in the United States who speak English and who we share culture with, or do we want to outsource it to Asian countries who would do us wrong? Who would do us wrong?
We've got another Anita and Ange clip, but I want to skip ahead because that
Okay.
caused me to lose minutes of my life just
She's on.
watching it. But I think on my deathbed, I'm going to have regrets about wasting what little time I had in my mortal coil watching Anita and Ange clips. It's just I don't
Okay.
have it. I'm very busy and I don't have it in me today
Yeah.
for Anita
Yeah.
and Ange.
Us too.
One just will brush past this. Anita Anand says that more than 100 people will be on board a flight leaving Jordan on Tuesday evening.
100 whole people. I mean, that's less than could fit in an A&W. Sheila Gunn Reid. Way to go, Anita Anand. My goodness.
Oh, who helped them though? Because 100 people are on board a flight leaving Jordan on Tuesday evening, but we saw that the French gendarmerie was the one helping Canadians get out of the region. So is this just her announcing that 100 people are leaving the region? Because I would be surprised if the Canadian government had that great of a role in there. Just for context, I applied and got a visa to go to Egypt a couple years ago to cover the climate change conference, but they don't have that great of a free media there. So I thought my kind of journalism might get me into an Egyptian prison. And so I thought, you know what? It's fine. But I get like thrice daily emails from the Egyptian government as a foreigner who could potentially be in their country. And I see online that the Canadians are dealing with a complete and total lack of communication. When I say I get emails thrice daily from the Egyptian government, it is in relation to the conflict right now between Israel and Iran, and sometimes even about what's going on in Gaza. And you can see people complaining nonstop, like, hey, we don't know what's happening. They told us to go to the Jordan border, and good thing the French were there to help us.
Right. Huh.
And speaking of the conflict between Israel and Iran, of course, Mark Carney weighs in to defend Iran's attack on a U.S. military base in Qatar as proportionate and diplomatic. I can't believe he described the IRGC sending missiles at a base where Canadians are stationed, but that's what he did. Oh, it's having a think. Oh, do we have the deadly swirl of doom?
We might not be able to. We might not be able to see Mark Carney saying it, but basically he described.
Here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Nope. Okay.
Basically, Mark Carney, the pencil pusher, who has never had to participate, nor will he ever participate in any sort of conflict, calls Iran's attack on a U.S. base in Qatar proportionate and diplomatic, which couldn't be further from the truth. When you're bombing people, when you're bombing people in retaliation, that's not diplomacy. The end.
Right. And you're bombing people because you're targeting American military bases, or at least bases where Americans are stationed. But Canadians are also stationed there too. And this is in response to the Americans making sure that the death cult of the IRGC doesn't have access to a nuclear weapon to impose a Holocaust on us.
That That. And yet here we have Mark Carney, the pencil pusher, just acting like, you know, Iran is just so noble and upstanding. Look at the diplomacy that they're showing. Oh my
Did we
God.
get it now?
I would lean towards President Trump's interpretation of it. The
good.
military action was also a diplomatic move by Iran. It was, I mean, we never welcome, obviously, hostilities and reactions, but it was proportionate. It was de-escalatory. It appears to have been previewed, which allowed, and they're Canadian soldiers at the Qatari base.
Yeah, exactly.
As
What do you
well.
do?
Did you get them out of harm's way?
They were out of harm's way, yes.
So it's par for the course, really, and it gives, as far as you're concerned, an opening for diplomacy.
It gives an opening for diplomacy. I think that's the right way to put it. And the question is, does that diplomacy really get traction and move to ending this risk of nuclear proliferation? And does it lead as well to broader, well, a broader ceasefire in the Middle East, including in Gaza?
That journalist led him right by the nose into making that declaration, and he wasn't smart enough to realize that he was being led by the nose into making that declaration.
Christiane Amanpour, I believe she used to be with CNN.
CNN, yes.
Yeah. I can't believe he said that. Iran's, I would just interviewed Salman Sima, so I'm trying to be respectful because he corrected me. He said, it's not Iran, it's the Iranian regime, it's the mullahs, it's the IRGC. The Iranian people don't want any of this. They want to be free. And he hopes that this is the end of the regime. And it could be, considering China hasn't rushed in to help them. And Russia hasn't rushed in to help them. Syria is a mess. So it could be, and once Iran falls, I mean, you see their proxies will go to Hezbollah, Hamas.
Yeah, and America has gotten involved now.
Yeah.
America has gotten involved now.
But yes, the diplomatic strikes on a US airbase.
Where Canadians are stationed. Totally diplomatic and reciprocal. Okay, Mark Carney.
Okay, so rough language here. We'll keep going. President
I love
Trump
this.
and the F-bomb here, explaining his take on the Iran and Israel rift. There had been apparent ceasefire struck, and then Israel hit an Iranian radar facility. Sounds like, anyway.
Yeah.
So Iran considers this a breach of the ceasefire. Many of the Republicans do not. I've seen them come out and say, like, this is a strategic defensive hit. They cannot have access to this radar.
Right.
So anyways, Trump is frustrated with everybody involved, but also I believe the journalists too.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
He's a little annoyed.
I love that Trump. I do love that Trump.
So I should preface it with both countries are accused of violating the ceasefire. Iran, but then Israel did bomb that radar facility. Now, who knows what intelligence Israel had that necessitated that bombing of the radar facility. I don't begrudge them a bombing of an Iranian radar facility. I don't, but Trump is very frustrated.
He's very, very frustrated. But I'll say this, in defense of the military, Israel's military.
Yeah.
When a ceasefire is made between two countries who have been at loggerheads, okay, who are sworn enemies of each other, the way that the communication mechanism works throughout their militaries is not instantaneous. It doesn't happen in the time that a tweet is sent out. And so it could be that the communication of the ceasefire just didn't trickle down. Like they might have had the radar station in Iran earmarked as next on the list of things to deal with, and they did not get the ceasefire communication in time. It could be a situation as simple as that, but you can hear it in Trump's voice. I mean, he is committed to seeing an end to this. He is the peace president, and I think that he showed right there just a very, very frank moment of truth. And this is the Trump that I love. I love the unvarnished Trump that just gives it both guns blazing. And he was telling them both in no uncertain terms that he was not going to have this anymore. So that's
Yeah.
where we stand.
Yeah. And I mean, he did say that peace would be a complete surrender by
Right.
the Iranians, and maybe Israel was just making sure that that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, but Trump, he was prickly.
I love it.
Now, well, let's just skip ahead to Rapid Response 47. It's the official rapid response account of the Trump White House. And this concerns me greatly as a Canadian with the Hamas hate marches on our streets, because at least they're catching these guys in the United States. I think in Canada, they go to the University of Toronto once they get here.
Yeah.
I guess. Since Sunday, ICE has arrested 11 Iranian nationals in the U.S. illegally across 8 states, including a former sniper in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. That's crazy. We've got, let's watch this because it says what they were arrested for. And it's not just being in the country illegally. They're bad dudes.
The Department of Homeland Security says Yusuf Meridano had been living in the United States illegally for nearly 8 years since U.S. officials determined he lied on a visa application on Sunday, just 4 months after the Iranian foreign national was added to the U.S.'s known or suspected terrorist list. He was arrested in central Mississippi. He's now in ICE custody pending removal proceedings, and he's not alone. Over the past 48 hours, ICE officials have arrested 11 Iranian nationals spanning 8 states nationwide. Among them, 5 possessed previous criminal convictions, their crimes ranging from grand larceny to drug and firearm possessions. Also among those apprehended, Ribbar Karimi. While arresting him in northern Alabama,
nice.
ICE officials say they found his Islamic Republic of Iran Army identification card and allege he served as an Iranian sniper between 2018 and 2021.
This is just wild. And yet in Canada, let's roll out a red carpet. Let's
Oh,
roll
they're
out.
going to flood here. And I was talking to Salman Sima. He's like, Sheila, they're already here. They're already here. We know they're here.
Huh. And who's keeping an eye on them, Sheila Gunn Reid? Who's keeping an eye on them? Certainly not the government that let them in the door.
Our immigration minister, who doesn't seem to know anything.
Yeah.
She's like, that's CBSA's problem. That's not mine.
Right.
Oh,
Canada.
Let's keep going. You guys, when you say your prayers tonight and take your vitamins.
Yeah. Please
remember.
Spare a thought.
Please
spare
remember.
a thought. Yeah.
Our beleaguered, overworked, work from home cat moms and dads in the federal public service. According to CTV News, these people who have the most secure jobs on the face of the earth, overcompensated, over benefited, they are stressed, you guys, and emotionally drained. How do we know? Just ask them. More federal public servants are feeling emotionally drained at the end of the day and higher levels of stress on the job, while fewer federal employees have a sense of satisfaction from their work, according to a federal government survey. There was about 51% of the employees across 93 federal departments. So roughly 90,000 employees responded to this. 23% reported high or very high levels of work-related stress in 2024, up from 19% in 2022. They were probably worried that the Conservatives would get in and fire 3 out of every 2 of them. The survey found 35% of respondents said they always or often feel emotionally drained at the end of their workday, up from 28% in 2022. Only 10% of respondents rated their mental health as excellent. Yeah, I believe that. 25% as very good and 36% as good, down from 12% who rated their mental health as excellent. When it comes to their work, 72% of federal public servants said they get satisfaction from their work.
So in other words, we really like our jobs. We really like our jobs, but everything is broken and everybody is stressed. And you know what would make it a ton better for us is more money. That is what they are saying. And like in Alberta, when Alberta Health Services did this exact same thing, they did a great big survey. Ooh, how are you guys feeling? How are you guys doing? How are you holding up? And Alberta Health Services said, everything is broken. Everybody is stressed. Nobody is happy. Everybody is an emotional basket case. Danielle Smith, what she did was walked in and fired them all. And this is what should happen. Listen, this should be a performance review. Every single person that undertook this survey, and we always must be skeptical about when government agencies undertake surveys because they are looking to cherry pick information.
Oh, and they hire people who ask push questions.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
The questions are so loaded, it's ridiculous. No, this survey was an absolute gold star favor for the public sector unions who are going to come in and say, but look at the results of this survey. Look how unhappy people are. Look how underpaid people are. Look, this is how you can help our public sector be happier, healthier, more well-rounded individuals. Just let them work from home, give them more money. Let their cat and dog adoptions have maternity and paternity and parental leave. This is crazy. Like, this is absolutely crazy. If you are that unhappy, if you are emotionally, if your job sets you on an emotional roller coaster every day, quit. By all means, quit. Show them how serious you are about getting well by quitting and relieving the Canadian taxpayer from your burden.
In fairness, my job does set me on an emotional roller coaster every single day, but I'm an adult and I realize that you can control your emotions and you just have to put your head down and work. But these people, they don't feel that way. Their emotional instability is apparently all of our problems. Here's the number that I like the best. Now, I wish this were an indication of just attrition. Like, do not replace them. Just consider, just let them go. 36% of respondents said they intended to leave their current position in the next 2 years.
Okay, bye.
Okay, perfect.
Happy trails.
Don't replace them.
Best of luck in your new endeavors. Oh, but those public sector unions are going to be in there saying these are essential workers. How can we possibly run a public service in Canada without overarching DEI initiatives, without overarching climate initiatives, without gender parity, without all of the layers of complication? They're gonna replace it because Sheila, of course they are.
Of course they are, because government exists to maintain government.
Yes.
Oh my God. This is just a horrible image that we used for the thumbnail of this, but it reminds us all how terrible the Public Health Agency of Canada is. Like, everything I'm looking at is a real feast for the eyes. You want to talk about emotional roller coasters? I'm on one right now looking at this thumbnail. Public Health Agency appoints 5th president in 5 years. So, Nancy Hamzawi, who is featured here with Theresa Tam. They're wearing matching outfits. Theresa Tam has her mask on naturally. They have the loving embrace of healthcare providers behind us here. You see, they can embrace each other, but we couldn't embrace our dead, dying, and sick during the pandemic because cooties. And then I hate to point this out, but they do this on purpose so that I can't say things, so that people can't say things. This woman, this Nancy, is Nancy. She's stepping into a $300,000 a year role, but I don't think she's making her step targets every day, if you know what I mean. And I am tired of these people rubbing it in our faces that the people who are in charge of our healthcare system are sickly.
Yes.
Or dying of their lifestyle choices, either slowly or quickly. And I think you can all get what I'm getting at here. During the NDP years, we had a health minister named Sarah Hoffman who could have been
Sarah Hoffman
on a reality show with Dr. Now. And I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just that there was a Belgian health minister too, who was just an absolute picture of health, you guys. And they do this so that I don't, that I don't point it out. But you're not practicing what you preach. I'm not taking health advice from people like that. I'm just not.
Yeah. Well, it sort of discredits the entire thing that they're saying that they're committed to, isn't it? Well, maybe now, Sheila, maybe now, with a salary of $300,000 provided by the Canadian taxpayer, maybe now she could rent herself a treadmill or a stepper. A step climber would be nice, or a gym membership, maybe.
Sit on a ball at your desk, so you just have to engage your core or something. She was in Revelation Shocking to No One, previously a climate program manager at Environment Canada.
You are kidding me. Like,
Definitely not.
I never would have guessed that about her.
Yeah.
A climate zealot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay. Well, that's who's leading us, Canada, Public Health Agency leader.
I give
Nancy.
up. I get, you know what? They don't want me to point it out, but I'm going to point it out. And why? Because it is objective reality. And one of the people I like most in the entire world has labeled himself fat and engaged in the fat challenge. If you haven't seen,
he's so cute. Actually, I read the whole thing. It's just so adorable. Like, let's go, Ezra.
Ezra's little fat challenge video.
And who did he challenge again? Tell me again. Rosemary Burton. Oh, jeez.
He caught it on camera too when they're kicking him out of the CBC setup there, and he's like, "Hey, Rosemary, did you see where I challenged you? Did you get my challenge?"
And he's so sweet about it. He's like, "Listen, sister, I get it. Like, these sometimes unhealthy habits get the best of us, but I'm here to make you a better person." Just the cutest. I've actually, like, that just makes me love Ezra more. It just does.
You can see his video at fatchallenge.ca. This is okay. Let's watch.
Okay.
Of my clothes, etc. You might remember a few months ago, I saw my counterpart at CBC. Her name is Rosemary Barton, and I think she has the same problem as me. She was sort of eating her feelings, and I challenged her to
says it to her.
Who can the greatest loser, the biggest loser type thing. I think she really took that negatively. Did you see my challenge? My sister, it's not a negative thing. I just look at her and I look at myself and I think we're a couple people in a stressful business and it's tough to find time to exercise. So I want to give her a challenge, and I want to challenge you, my viewers, to join our fatchallenge.ca. I told you the ugly truth. 251 pounds. I'm going to work to get that down to 201. Now, I know it should be a lot less than that. I'm only 5'9". I should weigh like 170 or something. But that'll be a great first start. I want to do it by eating healthy and not eating so much. By the way, I've got a new fitness influencer, just someone I follow on TikTok, who talks about being skinny and hot. And I thought, well, those are two things I want to be. Here's some of her tips about making good decisions. Good. Here's Brooke.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, fatchallenge.ca if you want to get involved. It's funny because Ezra was talking to me about his fat challenge before he did the video. And he's like, I think I've been eating my feelings. I'm like, I think you've been eating all the feelings. Like angry, happy, sad, anxious, cold, hot.
Yeah.
Tired?
Yeah.
you rip the Band-Aid off, you go public, you admit something about yourself, and
It's
you move
just
forward.
delightful. Just delightful. No, Sheila Gunn Reid, like this is what we need. We need like the Sheila Gunn Reid reset fat camp because every time I hang out with you, I come home like 7 or 10 pounds lighter because all I do is eat protein and pork rinds.
Right?
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
It's
Like
the
we don't.
secret to my success, pork rinds.
I'm telling the world, like this is what we need to do. Is like Sheila Gunn Reid's fat camp. I'm coming. Okay,
Get
I'll
away
see you
f-
in 2 days. I'll see you
high
in 2 days.
high protein, get away from the carbs, get on them pork rinds if you're craving something salty and crunchy, and they're great for your hair, skin, and nails. They're just collagen.
Yeah.
Don't be a white SUV mom, and I say this as a white SUV mom, but don't be one of those white SUV moms driving around with your liquid collagen supplement. Just go get the pork rinds. That's exactly what that stuff is. Just go eat a pork rind. Eat the chicken skin. Eat the chicken skin. It's the best part for you. Do that. Don't peel it off. Don't be scared of fat. It's good
See,
for you.
great advice from our Sheila Gunn Reid. There you go.
Yep. I could be Ezra's influencer, but I would probably be a little meaner. Daily dose of cringe. We gotta get to this because I have to talk to Lauren Gunter because I'm filling in for Ezra. So daily dose of cringe comes to us by way of our reliable daily dose of cringe pipeline over at Libs of TikTok. NBC's News Center Maine, I think that's a local channel in Maine, hosted a drag queen to report on the weather in Maine. Let's watch.
Hello, everybody. I am Chartreuse Money, and today, as current temperatures right here, Saturday, it's 2:40 p.m., honey. It is 80 degrees here in Portland right now, honey, and we are feeling the effects. The sun is out. All it took was a pride parade to bring the sunshine out today, but honey, it is hot all over the state. We got 78 degrees in Lewiston. I know the people of Lewiston, Auburn are probably celebrating and jumping in the river. Please don't do that. Be safe because it is hot, 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 and we need to find relief. Sanford's 81. Portsmouth down in New Hampshire is a lovely 83. Honey, the water is 56 degrees, okay? Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds so tropical, but you still got to be careful, okay? Hypothermia is real, so take it easy. 78 degrees in Waterville, 71 degrees in Greenville, and 76 in Millinocket. And shout out to my friends up in Caribou. I see you up there, Caribou. It's 73 degrees up there. Hope you're having a good old time. Hello, everybody.
Thanks for giving us the update on the weather, my sleep paralysis demon. That's the thing that squats on your chest when you're having a sleep paralysis nightmare.
Oh, Sheila, I'm really quite shocked by this, honey. Okay, I'm just like, listen, honeys, I'm just really quite shocked by this. How is this at all considered appropriate for mainstream media? And the truth is, it's not. Like, this is offensive to the nth degree to women to see us caricatured like this by an obvious lumbering man with what might be the world's most severe gross makeup that I've ever seen, and a body that looks like a Lego brick stuffed into a sausage casing, a sparkly sausage casing, mind you, with fake parts and pantyhose. Like that is an abuse to pantyhose. I feel bad for the pantyhose that were on that person.
You know, the pantyhose are doing the real heavy lifting here. They're the real stars of the show.
I feel bad for the pantyhose, okay?
Imagine just like getting the kids ready and you're like, oh, what are we going to do today? Summer holidays. Do we go to the beach? Let's check the weather. Sleep paralysis demon.
Just gross. Well, I hope they're getting their butts handed to them by their viewers there in Maine. Maine, that's not normal. It's not cool. Like, I can't wait for drag queens to just fall out of fashion altogether when we can look back on this collective moment of insanity in our society and be like, I can't believe
you just go back to the like niche club where they used to perform. Instead, they're just shoved into our faces everywhere. And I genuinely think nobody likes them, and the people who say they like them only like them because it's an extension of their politics and not because they actually think that this is an art form.
It is not. It is the furthest thing away from an art form that I've ever seen. It's an insult to women and an insult to polite society. And listen, whatever your kink is, go on behind the confines of your bedroom door. But to put this on the news, it's egregious. It's sort of unforgivable. NBC Maine, it's sort of unforgivable.
Be safe, honey. You're going to get hypothermia.
Honey.
Thanks, honey.
Yeah.
As if any of us talk like that. Okay, Olivia, can you let me know if we have any chats to read? Okay, not today. That's okay. I think I'm hosting again tomorrow. I may be in studio. I may be elsewhere. Lise, thanks so much for 2 back-to-back live streams, a special live stream last night and then this one today. I would just appreciate you so much. We can't get enough of you.
Well, you're most welcome. It was my pleasure to be here with you today, and I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time.
Right. Everybody who works behind the scenes at Rebel News, thank you so much for doing the things that you do. Everybody who chats in the live stream, even leaving a comment helps us get higher up in the algorithm. It shows that we're engaged and people are consuming our content, so they serve us up in front of other people.
Hey, yeah, and if you guys are entertained by this, like if something you saw here resonated, make sure you send a link with somebody with somebody who you think would appreciate it, or with somebody who needs some re-education.
Yeah, it's a great way to support our work that doesn't cost you a dime. And it helps us get around the intense internet censorship, both of Silicon Valley, but also of the Carney liberals. I think that's it. Thank you so much, guys. And I guess I'll sign off the way David Menzies usually does, and that is telling you to stay safe and stay sane.
Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA hats to introduce, well, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats, they are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want to make Canada great again.